I'm joined by poet Matipaishe Mavunga. Good morning, how are you?
Morning, Candice, how are you?
I'm good. Question.
Yes.
Were you like a broody teenager, always in her room, writing things down? Like, is that what you were?
Not even. I'd be lying if I say that. Actually, I started writing poetry for school competitions, just to leave the school premises.
Just to
leave the school premises. For real, I'm serious.
Okay.
Yes, so I started writing when I was 14. But for me, that time, poetry was just for leaving the school premises, like I mentioned. But with time, for example, during my advanced levels, that is when I actually started specializing in English literature. And that is when I can actually say I received my calling for poetry. It made me understand that poetry would just allow me to express my feelings as a tool, as a weapon.
Right.
Yes.
So these competitions you speak of,
Yes.
Which ones were they?
They were the CASs, Catholic competitions.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they had specific categories?
Yes.
Why didn't you go for any of the other ones and you went for poetry instead? You'd have still left the premises.
I guess I just found myself having a relationship with the pen and paper.
Yes. I love that. Tell me about your first competitive experience.
Well, it was tense. It was uncomfortable at first because I was the only junior and the rest were seniors. But by God's grace, I actually managed to be in the top 4. So that gave me the confidence to continue pursuing in poetry. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now, as you grew in your creative skill,
Yes.
How did you find yourself, find your voice, and find the flow that essentially comes with being a poet? Because we've interacted with different poets and they all flow very differently. How did you find your feet in that?
Okay, it all started, like I mentioned, when I was studying English literature during my advanced levels. And I got the exposure to Shakespeare's work, Roland Marshy's work, and they somehow gave me hope in my life. So that made me realize that sharing hope, love, and faith to other people may actually help them with whatever they'll be going through. So as a poet, I got to recognize myself as a person whose voice echoes hope to people. Just maybe like the sunflower, which always or usually faces the sun. So for that, I resembled my voice as a poet as that of transporting emotions from the heart, putting them on paper or video, into sharing on societal ill that problems people are facing, especially the young people, for example, in mental health. So I highlight maybe pieces on someone going through depression, that when someone reads, they know that they're not alone. And that way we are shining away this stigma, the stigma of mental health, and people are able to open up and have their voices heard and share hope to the society.
Okay, so I've come across 2 poets. I've come across the very dark ones who can only write when they're in dark spaces. And I'm taking it you're definitely not that one.
I am.
Really?
Yes, I am. I said hope.
Yeah.
For someone to see hope, you have to notice that someone else is going through the same thing. Because if you only come across joyful poems, you think the person is not experiencing sadness in their life. But when you read, because if you read pieces that I've written, you see that this person is going through this, but eventually towards the end of the poem, there is light. Exactly.
So you're a transitional, you're somewhere in between. No, I like that you're like, look, I need to talk to somebody deliberately. I need to speak to them. I need to reach them and show them that they're not alone. Show them that there are options. Show them that there is hope.
Then at the end,
have you had moments where you've felt very stuck personally, where you felt as though, look, I may not make it past this point?
Yeah, I have before. And an example I can give, or an example that I've been giving lately, is when I was writing my advanced levels. Yes, I felt as if I wasn't going to make it through. It was a difficult situation for me. But as a person who was studying FRS as well, Family Religious Studies, I just started writing down what God did for people in the Bible. You raised cousin Lazarus from the dead, restored Bartimaeus' sight. He gave even Uncle Moses the miraculous power to separate the Red Sea. So just writing that, I started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I started seeing hope. So this just made me write that we may face challenges in life, But at the end of the day, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So that's where the dark scene or the dark scenery of the poetry comes, then the hope at the end. To show that we face the challenges, but reading it acknowledges the reader that you're not alone. Other people go through the problems. But at the end, if we open up, if we get help, we'll be okay.
How therapeutic are these sessions for you, your writing sessions? How cathartic are they for you?
I can say that they are quite therapeutic. They actually help me in the sense that I just find myself flowing on through the paper and the pen, just writing. Then I feel better and I talk to someone if I'm not okay. Yeah.
And your family, how interactive is your family with your art?
Well, I can say that they're very supportive. They're very supportive. At first, they didn't understand it. So they'll just say, you know what? She's just doing a poetry stuff. But we then started seeing the developments that I was then portraying and having opportunities come my way. They started actually showing more support, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah, I'm grateful for it.
What is your hope for the poetic arts in Zimbabwe? I mean, I know for me growing up, it was a very vibrant scene. It was a very cherished talent, very cherished skill. But somewhere along the line, it waned in its power, it waned in its effectiveness. What do you hope to do with your talent and your skills?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing I can say is that in the poetry sector, there are a lot of voices. And the challenges or the problems that I've come to encounter when it comes to different voices is that a lot of people bring out what people want to hear. So that on its own has made me identify that as a poet, if I stand with my own beliefs, I hope that people will hear me in my own voice. That is through motivational speaking. And that is not giving them what they only want to hear in terms of maybe what could be happening in society, but to help them, give them hope, and be a recognized poet in terms of motivating people and inspiring.
So, Miss Award-winning poet.
Thank you so much.
How did your first award feel?
It felt great. It felt great, but I still feel like I have a lot to do. It was promising Artist of the Year for the Poetry Red Carpet Awards. So I still feel like I have a long journey ahead of me. It's just the first step to greatness. Yeah. So
I like that, first step to greatness.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. Now, if you could teach your younger self anything before you actually found your voice in poetry, what would you teach her now?
Try out every opportunity that you feel like you can make it. Don't step back because people are telling you can't make it, or don't step back because you're telling yourself that you can't make it. Go for it because that's the age to do it. It will be so ridiculous to try out some things when you're not old. I'm not old, but I'm just saying when you get older. Yes, I'm serious. There's some things you can't really try out when you're like in your above 25s. I don't know. There's just some things that seem ridiculous when you do it. So when you're young, take the opportunity and do it.
100%.
Take the opportunity and do it.
100%. Matipa, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Do you want to read us, recite us as we go out?
No problem.
Okay, so we're going to close it off with just a nice poem from Matipa, just so she can show you her skills.
Thank you. So this piece is entitled This Generation. This generation makes my body a walking temple, a temple of idolatry. Either my silhouette is too thick for attraction, too enormous to be beautified, too bony to be loved. This generation has made me forget that true identity is that which lies beneath the stone of my heart, that true life, true meaning is that musical note produced within the core of my heart. That my mind should sing along, my mind should dance to who I am proud to be. But this generation has turned my complexion into an existing reminder of how incomplete and incompetent I am, that to be light-skinned is the reminder men hunt for to find beauty, to find love. This generation has limited me, it has put me in a prison that each time I try to escape, I literally find myself locked in expectations. But I'll walk away, because I'll free myself from this generation. Thank you.
Wow. Matipaishe Mavunga, award-winning poet.
Konapo Konapo, Ipapo Ipapo pa ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.